Hi gentlemen, welcome back. This is Coach Nazdina Rani. For those of you that don't know me, I help men break through those patterns that they keep repeating in dating and relationships, and that inevitably will help you to be the best version of yourself, which inevitably will attract your partner, your soulmate, if you're meant to attract that in this lifetime. So that is what I help with. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about Cardi B. Okay, and I know it's so random, and I'm sure men are like, why are you talking, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. It just kept coming in my head, and I'm like, I want to talk about it. So here we are. By the way, these are all of my thoughts on it, what I perceived, and there's no judgment because we all have said things, made mistakes in our lives. Like, nobody's perfect. I feel like we as grown-ups, as adults, have a big responsibility to the younger generation. That's just what I believe, and I feel like the things we say or our lifestyle, all of that kind of stuff is really important. So let's get into it. Recently I was watching a podcast with Cardi B, and she was speaking about of course she's had 3 kids with, what's his name? Migos? I can't remember his name. And then she met another man after a year, and then they ended up she got pregnant and she's having a baby. So I want to kind of just start with jump start off of that, and I don't want to talk about Cardi B. I want to really just talk about in general, in life, because it's not just a Cardi B thing, it's the world thing. I see this happen so many times, and I want to bring this up. By the way, I love Cardi B. She is hilarious. She's so real and authentic. Like, literally there's nobody as authentic and real as her. They're just, I don't know, find one. I haven't seen somebody as real as her. And so she mentioned that one of the reasons why she found the next man, I don't remember their names, is because she felt lonely. She would go out, she would have fun, and then when she comes home, she felt this like sense of loneliness, which everybody can relate to. We all can relate to that sense of loneliness, right? But firstly, I want to talk about when you go through a divorce. First of all, it's like worse than death, right? It's the most painful thing you can go through. And when you're going through it, you do get a lot of emotions, right? You feel alone, you feel like nobody gets you, you're just in this chaos. And especially if it's a toxic relationship, it could be worse. I realized when I was going through my divorce, and I realized one of my patterns is that when things get tough, or like if I don't want to deal with somebody, I block them and I leave and I run away, and I don't want to deal with them, right? And when you're going through a divorce, guess what? You can't do that. You can't block that person. You can't say, I'm not dealing with you today. You just can't, because you have a child involved. So you have to literally put your ego aside, and you have to act like an adult, a mature adult, on how to solve the problem. Even if the other person doesn't want to act like a mature adult, you still have to try to find a way to make it work. And that's the hard part about a divorce. And by the way, this is not about what I think Cardi B or anybody should do. This is just how I see things, and also from my past experiences, from my own separation, the divorce and all the shebang, what I want to share with you guys. Everybody deals with divorce, separation in a very, very different way, right? Some people, out of their marriage, they just want to go ahead and have a lot of fun, and so they go partying or whatever it is. Some people, they don't leave the house, they don't want to date, they're afraid of even seeing another, the person of the opposite sex. And I feel like that is where the balance needs to come in. And I feel like, honestly, whatever makes you happy after you get your divorce is, you just go ahead and do that, right? Because many people that haven't gone through it, they are probably, and I probably was one of those people, would judge that, right? I would be like, okay, well, come on, you have this, you have that, you have responsibilities. And I feel like you still are a human being. You still are going through a traumatic experience. And I feel like that should be for nobody to judge. But at the same time, I do feel like there is a responsibility as adults. And I know that not everybody is able to take that responsibility on or wants to. But being a role model for the next generation, making sure that they know that certain behaviors are not okay, to me, it's like a huge thing. And so there's nothing wrong with enjoying your life, but what I would suggest, and this is something that I had to learn the hard way as well, is to really take the time, and I'm sure I've heard this before. And by the way, this advice or whatever I'm going to say in this video is not just for Cardi B or just for women. This is for men and women. I feel like we all can take something from it. But right after you decide to, get a divorce, it's really important to take the time out to find out who you really are without another person. And of course, everybody's timeline is so different. Everybody heals in a different rate. And so it really, there's no, you have to take 1 year off and then you got to do XYZ. But in general, I would recommend 1 to 2 years to really take the time off to look at yourself, to heal within, to understand who are you in this point in time. What makes you happy? What makes you laugh? I want you to do those things, because when we get out of a relationship, and let's just assume it's an unhealthy relationship or just something where it's a lot of toxicity in that, and then you end up dating again, first of all, when you don't have any sense of self-reflection on what have I done in that relationship, right? A lot of the times when I talk to men, the first thing I hear is all of the horrible things that their ex has done. But I don't hear, well, this is what I have done, right? So I feel like we need to cultivate that within ourselves, or we're able to sit down with ourselves and understand, okay, well, at the very beginning, this XYZ happened. And instead of confronting her, instead of owning up to how I feel about that specific event or specific thing she said to me, I then let it go. I thought it would get better, and I really just wanted to avoid having that conversation so I could continue living my fantasy of a happy, healthy relationship. And also, you owe it to not only yourself, but you owe it to your children to do this work. I love watching these shows with the judges on, and you see so many people, they're from one relationship to they go to the next one. They don't have any break. And a lot of us think that, okay, when I find another person who's going to love me, then I'm going to feel less alone, and I'm going to feel okay about myself, and I'm going to be much more happier. And sometimes what could happen is that because you haven't taken the time to self-reflect, to heal whatever you need to heal from the last relationship, or just understand about yourself, you then tend to repeat the same cycle with this new person all over again. And then if this again doesn't work out, then you're going to blame the entire population of men, and you're going to say all men suck and all men are horrible. But in reality, you just didn't take the time to heal yourself, to understand your wounds. And I feel like a lot of the times we learn this pattern, this behavior of not stopping. Like when you leave a relationship, you need to take a break, and we don't see our parents do that, and we end up repeating that same pattern. And it's so important because kids learn from what you're doing as an adult. They don't learn from what you're telling them. Hey, you better get your act together. You better do this. You better do that. No, they learn from how you are behaving. And that's something that I needed to learn myself. When you feel lonely, you can actually end up chasing quick fixes and relationships that don't actually serve you. They might feel good in that moment because you feel alone, but you're long term. And it's crazy because when I personally went through my separation, it's weird, right? It's like you're by yourself now. And I went through my own little experience with my dark night of the soul, but I just love it. It's like I don't need somebody. I want somebody when I want them, but I don't need them. And I'm much happier about myself. And I think that when you have that sort of energy, that is when you really pull in that right person for you. But whenever we get into this kind of jumping from one relationship to the next, and by the way, this is what I did with my ex. After a week of breaking up with him, I met my next boyfriend, which turned out to be my ex-husband. So it was a week. And that's what I learned, is that I didn't take the time to heal and look after myself. And so that is my biggest message out here to you men, is that if you're going through a breakup, and especially if it's a divorce, please take the time to look after yourself, to find out who you are right now as a man, But then also don't take too long, because that's another spectrum of things where men take so long where they're like, oh, I hate women and I don't even want to go out anymore. And they just end up staying at home and cursing life. It's like, that's again not the way to go about it as well. So you need to be balanced. You need to still give you time to heal, to reflect, get a therapist. But then at the same time also get yourself out there. Don't just go out and sleep with a bunch of women. Really take time to get curious about women, because that's another thing I see. You know, men just sleep with one woman, then the next, then the next, and they're not genuinely getting to know her. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.